you,
Sorry, the
Bethany?
internet wasn't working. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad we're doing this.
Me too. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, Bethany. It's nice to see you again. I'm so happy that we have this chance to connect via the internet. I can't wait to get back to in person, but I feel like everybody feels like that. So let's get started on the interview of all the questions that we're going to ask you so that all of our constituents and people can find out more about you personally, what you do, and your business. So
Thank you
first,
so much.
tell me about yourself. What sparked your interest in environmental advocacy? And then was this an interest that you developed as a child, or did that passion grow later on in your life?
So it was definitely something that's been a passion of mine since I was a child. My grandparents were farmers, and they, always used everything until it was literally unusable. And then nothing ever got thrown out. So I grew up seeing a lot of that. And it definitely influenced me into seeing value in things from a very early age, and like kind of trained me in a way to just constantly reuse things and not to think always about what new thing to buy, but to find value in older items and things that we already had around the house. So for me, it was something that I felt passionate about from early childhood, and actually my business partner Jackie felt quite the same way. Her mom was always very much into sustainability and reusing everything that they had. Jackie comes from a big family with a lot of siblings, so it was also a way for them to save money. So that was something Jackie and I, as friends growing up, have had in common always. Definitely. So, and then later in life, for me, I studied sustainability for my master's, sustainable food systems, actually. So it was something that I ended up pursuing in my adult life as well. And then, yeah, so Jackie and I, when we decided to open a business together, doing something in the environmental world and something sustainable was the only option for us. So yeah, so it definitely shaped our business model and our entire conversation about business. So
yeah. That's great. I think my grandmother used to have that same kind of thought bearing where she would use the bar of soap until it was completely gone. Everything was reused. Plastic bags were reused until they were basically destroyed. But she did it as a cost-saving measure because she lived through the Depression. And so I feel like, it's your mom, if she was doing that when you were young, she was very evolved, right? And so you grew up having a very evolved parent or parents who were thinking more about sustainability, because I feel like over the last 10 years, it's become a thing. And before that, people weren't really as involved in it. So that's great to hear that your whole family is focused on sustainability and it's something you grew up with. So the way that you and I first got to know one another was because your store Echo and the Flamingo came to be a few years ago, and we were really interested. My office and I were really interested in it, and so we came to visit you, and we had a wonderful visit, a very memorable visit. So can you tell us how Echo and the Flamingo came to be? A little bit of a brief history about it, how the idea was developed, and how you got the name.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the idea came from a mixture of wanting to start a business that was sustainable and eco-friendly and something that was going to be part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. For me, during a lot of my travels, I studied abroad for a while, and I saw a lot of these like zero waste stores that had popped up throughout Europe, in Italy and in Sweden and in France, and things like that. So when I started researching about what was available back home, there are definitely zero waste stores across the country, but Chicago didn't have one, and that really surprised me. So when my business partner and I, Jackie, were talking about when we started getting more serious about wanting to start something together, I said, well, there's these stores that I've seen in Europe, and why don't we think about that? And then, I think it took her all of like 30 minutes to call me back and say like, this is what we have to do. Chicago needs this. And so it just made a lot of sense for us to do that. So then once we started business planning, it took us about 9 months from when we started planning until we actually opened. So in regards to the name, we knew that we wanted the focus to be on, eco, something that's eco-friendly. So it's just it was just kind of funny. Jackie bought a notebook for our ideas, and it had flamingos all over it. So we're both animal lovers, and we both love a lot of color. So there was flamingos all over her notebook, and it just kind of fit that every day we were looking at this notebook, and then we just thought, why don't we incorporate it into the name? So the eco obviously is kind of demonstrates the values and the mission of the store, but we also want to incorporate a lot of local makers and a lot of art and a lot of color and a lot of beauty into the store. So that's where the flamingo comes in. So that's kind of the representation of the other like main aspect of the store, which is art and color.
So Bethany, from concept to opening, 9 months is so fast. It's like lightning speed. So that's amazing. And I guess it doesn't really surprise me because you're such a rock star, but that is really fast. So congratulations on that. So
Thank you, yeah.
Chicago's first zero waste, you're welcome, general store, Eco and the Flamingos paved the way for other businesses to adopt more green practices into their daily operations. What can small businesses do to become more environmentally conscious?
Yeah, so there's a lot of steps that small businesses can take, and I think it can be a bit daunting for small businesses, especially ones that have not designed their initial business model around sustainability. So I think that like taking things one step at a time is really important for businesses and for households as well. But I think so one thing I wanted to mention is there's actually a really great resource in Chicago called Zero Waste Chicago, and they do actually like business to business consulting to help businesses become more sustainable and to reach their sustainability goals. So a little shout out to them. But in general, I think just asking more questions about, when they're sourcing the things that they need for their operations, about, where does it come from? What happens to it when it's, finished? Can we make this more sustainable? And just maybe tackling one area at a time, because, and especially the things which are more easy to switch with is obviously logical to start with, so if you're, if you need a certain, you need to be making copies and you start, taking on recycled paper as opposed to new paper, or, little switches that, don't require a lot of overhead cost or a lot of investment, which is something that could, scare businesses away. It's also not the greatest time for businesses, a lot of businesses, to be putting a lot of investment into new things that don't already need to be replaced. So I think starting small and starting realistically and just kind of chipping away one aspect of the business at a time, as opposed to trying to do everything all at once. And every little bit counts. And then and then for new businesses, especially, I think if you build it into your business model as you're starting, then you're already going to be investing in assets that are already sustainable. So you don't have to redo it down the line. So I think for new businesses, especially, there's this great opportunity to be able to start right off the bat thinking about sustainability. So
I think that's a really great point, because sometimes when people approach sustainability, it just seems so overwhelming and so many component parts that sometimes they just push it off because there's so much to think about. So tackling it one step at a time, I think, is really good advice, especially for small businesses, as you mentioned, that might not have a lot of resources right now during COVID, or, there's just the whole small business enterprise system right now is depressed because of COVID. So you just want to make sure that you are identifying what you need to do and then tackling it, completing it, executing it, and then moving on to the next thing. I think that's great advice. So talking about COVID and the pandemic, how has Echo and the Flamingo adapted to the new situation in your new business environment during COVID-19? And what do you think small businesses can do to adjust to the new problems posed by the pandemic, because I think we all recognize that while there's vaccinations, they may only last 6 months, and that they're, this idea that COVID's going to end this summer might not be 100% correct. We might see some lasting influences on it. So what do you think businesses how can they remain environmentally conscious right now?
So I think that's a really good question. So for us, actually, we opened during the pandemic. We had to delay our opening just by a few weeks because of the pandemic. So we had to kind of switch things around right from the very start. I think putting people's safety and comfort first is really important. So for us, first, by mandate, we had to, limit the amount of people that could enter the store. And even, now that's quite lifted, but we still keep our capacity right now at 50%, just because, at the end of the day, people's safety is more important than the bottom line. And I think people really appreciate that. So I think businesses should definitely put like safety and health of people before anything else. So for us, it has been, there has been some difficulties. So we've had to, wearing gloves all the time was something that we didn't initially want to do, because it's not, keeping your hands clean should be enough. But during a pandemic, then, you have to take extra precautions. So for food service businesses, what we've learned actually is that 100% latex is compostable. So instead of having, and that can cause issues, I suppose, if somebody has an allergy, but for us, none of our staff does. So we use 100% latex gloves because we can compost them. In terms of food, because some of our food is cooked and, will be cooked, but some of it is, like nuts and things like that, things that people will eat directly. So we do all of the scooping for people for our food products right now. Just because it's, for safety measures, it's just us handling it all the time. And it's not, everyone else from all over the city, that are doing that. So we've had to implement a couple of things that were not our initial intention to do in the beginning. And it has, it affected us for sure, having a lower capacity, and it takes a long time to do all of the food service for people. So, but at the end of the day, I think people understand that. We've also implemented an appointment system so that people who have larger orders, because we are doing all the scooping, then it kind of evolved, actually. We did it at first just to limit the amount of people in the store and to give people a chance to get their shopping done. And then it evolved into we are taking walk-ins now, and we keep it at 50% capacity, but for people who have large food orders, that way they have like a dedicated time with an attendant that can get all of their refills done, because some of our customers are super enthusiastic, so they'll come with 25 jars to refill all their spices and everything, and it takes time. So just adjusting to the needs of the customer while keeping in mind safety and health. So it's a bit of a juggling act, but I think putting people first is the priority. Putting people's health first is the priority for sure.
Well, I think that's a good practice probably for even after the pandemic, is that if you have 25 bottles to fill, that it would be good to make an appointment to, come in before, so that your attention can be more on the customer when they come to pick everything up, rather than just fulfilling the order. Because I know as a small business, you really are very focused on face-to-face and customer relations. So I think that's good. Do you have an online influence as well?
You mean like online store?
No, do you have a website online where you said where people, and if so, what's that website? Can you tell us
Sure,
where we can go to find out more about it?
Absolutely. It's www.ecoandtheflamingo.com. You can find, so you can shop online for all of the non-refill items. There's also a menu of our refill items available online, so you can see what we have for when you want to come in and refill. And then you can also make your appointment online. It's right on the front page. So if you want to make an appointment, we ask if you have more than 4 or 5 things to refill that you make an appointment, just so that for everyone, for the person making the appointment and everyone else in the store, it kind of facilitates things and keeps everything flowing in a good way. So you can make that your appointments online as well on the website.
Yeah, that makes good sense. So what are some of the favorite things that you sell at Echo in the Flamingo? Like your personal favorite?
Ooh,
I know it's so tough, right? Because everything's your favorite.
We have everything is my favorite, absolutely. So I mean, we have some really amazing Chicago brands that we carry at the store. Meliora is a big one. So they do dish soap, laundry soap, all your kind of house and home cleaning items, and that's made right in Westtown. And they're amazing to work with. Their products are absolutely amazing, so we really love them. We have 2 different coffee roasters that are in Chicago, Back of the Yards coffee roasting, which is like we can barely keep them in stock. I think we're picking up almost every week, it seems like now. So people really love, they have really high quality coffee, and they have very high standards for their ethics and for the way that they work with the farmers. And they also give back a lot to their community in the Back of the Yards, which is really wonderful. We also carry Dark Matter, which is another Chicago roaster. And they have super delicious coffee, and they're also very in tune with the farmers that they work with, which is great. Who else? Gosh, ZEFIRO. ZEFIRO is she has a line of like brushes and all kind of different like household reusable swaps that are zero waste as well, and she's in Chicago. Lena Rose, we have her line of health and beauty products. She was our first beauty brand to go refillable. So all of the products that we sell of hers, you can bring your bottle back and refill it, which is really amazing. And she's our neighbor, she's just down the street, and she's Chicago's first green beauty spa. So she's very cool. What else? We have, there's just so much. We have our own line of products actually as well. So that's one of our favorites because it's very near and dear to us. We have a line of textiles, like towels and blankets that are ethically made in Turkey, as well as some household and bath and body products as well. Some cleaning items that are handmade here in Turkey. And then we have products that are made in Chicago. We have a line of 5 different bath and body bars that are made in Chicago, and they were formulated in Chicago as well. So yeah, our line.
You have so many things, Bethany.
We have so many, and I'm not even like, I know I'm forgetting like to touch on some. We have so many.
That was just your favorite things. I mean, it's so hard. It's like picking between your children. So I know it's impossible. I will say 2 of my favorite things at your shop. The one thing I do come in most frequently for is laundry detergent, because I know that a lot of people have seen, there's a YouTube video about all of the big plastic jugs, like the Tide or all those jugs that people have refillable laundry detergent, or not refillable, just laundry detergent. And then, you know, there's the amount that's used annually could circle the globe like 5 times, or maybe it's not even annually, maybe it's like, I don't know.
Gosh.
So I bring in my my plastic laundry detergent, and you just refill it. It has to be clean, it has to be dry, and then you can refill it. And then I do love the Turkish towels, because I do think that they dry really fast in the summer, and they last forever. So
they do, absolutely. And yes, we the refillable detergents is one of our, it's also our top selling product. I think it's one of the easiest swaps to make for people. And you are absolutely right. We ask that you, especially the first time, bring in your containers fully clean and dry. Once it's already the products that we sell inside of it, you can bring it back and you don't have to clean it out first, but we don't want to be mixing products and mixing expiration dates and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, this is probably one of the easiest swaps to make, is laundry soap and dish soap, for people to be refilling. And you go through a lot of it. So we're working on doing a calculation of how many containers have been saved from the landfill based on our soap sales of refills. So we'll get that number to you when we have it. So.
As an active advocate for the environment, What do you view as the city's most pressing environmental issue?
I would say recycling. It's one of the probably most talked about topics in when people come into the store, is kind of what to do about the recycling problem in Chicago. And yeah, so I would say that would be probably the most concerning issue that we talk a lot about, and we would really love to kind of keep the conversation going and see what we can do as a community to improve it. Definitely.
Agreed. So I guess the last question I wanted to ask you today, Bethany, is how can we learn more about Echo and the Flamingo?
Yeah, so you can learn about us. We're pretty active on our social media, Instagram and Facebook. We have a TikTok, but we're still kind of learning how to use it. But so our social media is at the @ Eco and the Flamingo. And then our website is www.ecoandtheflamingo.com. And you can also come see us. We're in Lincoln Square. We're in Lincoln Square neighborhood, just a few blocks outside of the actual square itself. We're on Lawrence and Rockwell. So we're just on the west side of Western Avenue down Lawrence. So we'd love to have everybody come see us as well. So we practice social distancing in the store. Our capacity right now is reduced for the foreseeable future until things change. It's quite safe. We keep everything very sanitized. So people really do love to come into the store. We have one couple that calls it their date night. Which especially when the restaurants were all really closed. So it's fun. It's an experience to be in the store, to refill everything, and it's really kid friendly as well. And it gets kids to ask a lot of questions, and they enjoy doing the refill process for the soaps and the things that you can refill yourself. And so you can find us online, you can find us on social media, and coming into the store is a really fun experience as well.
Great, Bethany. Well, I follow you on social media, and you have great content. It's always really colorful and fun and easy to read and consume. So thank you for all that you do. I love your store. As a huge environmental advocate myself, I really just appreciate that you guys took the initiative, that you have your store, and that you put all the love, attention, and energy into it that you do. It's a great store, and I really encourage everybody to come visit you. So thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.